Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jane. You're welcome to Jane by Design. So today I'll be showing us how to cut and sew a shift A-line dress with a trumpet sleeve. If you're a beginner and you are eager to know how to do this, watch the video to the end. I promise it's going to be easy and simple, step by step for you to follow. Alright, so if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and leave a comment. So I have the fabric that I'll be working with. I have this in 1.5 yards. I recommend you buy 2 yards, okay? So that you have the room to add as much ease as you need for your dress, all right? So here I have this in 1.5. I recommend you buy 2. I also have my pattern paper. I'm going to be marking on the pattern paper before transferring this into the fabric. So this is just your basic bodice. If you've not seen a video on how to draw your basic bodice, check the channel. I have it all packed on my channel. So what I'm doing here is just mark out the armhole. After I've taken the shoulder line, I've marked out my armhole. I'm ensuring that the chest line for this pattern corresponds with what I have on my shoulder line. Okay, so going back to the armhole line, I'm going to get the midpoint, and then we are going to ensure that this chest line corresponds with where I want it to be. So I'm marking out the chest line right now. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is to take the neck width. So for the neck width, I'm going to use 3 inches, and the neck depth I'm also going to be using 3 inches. That's for the front. And for the back neck width, I'm going to be using 3 inches as well, and the neck depth for the back is 1 inch. So I'm just going ahead to mark out the front and the back neck width for this dress. Okay, so after that is done, I'm going to mark out the shoulder slope as well. After that, we're going to get the midpoint of our armhole line, get the midpoint, come in by 1/2 inch, go back to your chest line, take 1/4 of your bust circumference plus 2 extra inches for ease. Okay, you're going to be adding a lot of ease to your dress because it's a free dress. So I've taken my bust circumference plus 2 extra inch for ease on my chest line. Then I connected my armhole to create armhole line. So you can see here I'm creating the armhole for the front and the back together. So we are cutting the back and the front together. Now place your tape on the shoulder, come down to get your waist. So for the waist, I'm going to take 16 inches. So from the shoulder down to the hip, I'm going to take 25 inches. So for the length of this dress, I'm going to be using 37 inch as the length of my dress. Okay, so at this point you can do what works for you. If you want it shorter, you can go ahead and do that. So right now I'm just marking out my lines, the waistline, the hip line, and also the length of my dress. Like I said, the length is going to be 37 inch. So right now I'm just marking out the point where I have the length of the dress. So I'm just going to mark that out, and then I'll use my ruler to square it out as well after marking it out. So here I'm marking out the hemline of my dress. After that is done, we're going to go back to the waist and take 1/4 of our waist circumference plus 2 extra inch for ease. Okay, 1/4 of your waist circumference plus 2 extra inch for ease. Coming down to the hip, 1/4 of the hip circumference plus 2 extra inch for ease. And then whatever measurement you have on your hip line is what you're going to transfer to the hem of the dress. And then I went on to add extra 1 inch. That is why I said you should buy 2 yards, because the reason why I'm adding 1 inch is because my fabric will not be enough to add 2 or 3. So I will advise you add like 2-3 inches to the hem of the dress so that it will give you that A-line effect. So after that is done, what I'm doing now is connecting from the shoulder, from the chest line to meet the waist, from the waist down to the hip. And then from the hip, we are going to connect to touch. We are now going to draw an A-line, A shape to connect to the hem of this dress. Okay, so after that is done, the next thing to do is to go ahead and cut out. So we've drafted the front and the back on this paper. It's very easy, you can see that. So what I will do now is to just go ahead and add 1/2 inch sewing allowance to it. Okay, so I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch sewing allowance all around it. I'm going to be adding it by the sides of the dress, and for the hem of the dress I'm going to be adding 2 inch for folding it at the lower part, and then at the armhole I'm going to add half of an inch for joining the armhole. Okay, and then at the shoulder line I'm going to be adding half of an inch to join at the shoulder. So the only place I'm not going to be adding a stitch allowance is at the neckline. So at the neckline I'm just going to leave it like that. So after that is done, after we've added all of the allowances, next thing we are going to go ahead and cut out this pattern. So I'm just going ahead to cut out this pattern. Just follow the lines that you've already drawn on your pattern, the allowances that you've drawn on your pattern. That is what you are going to be cutting out. Okay, so I'm going ahead to cut out. So mind you, we drafted the front and the back on this paper. So as you are cutting, you are going to be cutting out the back first before cutting the front. So if you're a beginner, please take note. You're going to be cutting out the back before moving on to the front. So as you can see right now, I'm cutting out the back. You can see I've cut out the back neckline, and I also cut out the back armhole as well. So now I've placed it on my fabric. You can see what it looks like. Right now I'm just going ahead to cut out exactly the way it is on my fabric. The only places I didn't add a stitching allowance to is the neckline. I just don't want to add stitching allowance to that place so that it doesn't get too high at the neckline. So right now I'm cutting out my pattern for the back. First of all, you need to cut out the back first. After cutting out the back, then you can now adjust your pattern to cut out the front. So here it is, guys. I'm done cutting out the back pattern for this dress. So I'm going to now adjust my pattern for the front. The only adjustment you need is to just cut out the front neckline and then cut out the armhole for the front, and that's all. Ensure that when you are cutting, you add half an inch stitching allowance at the armhole. So this is what the front should look like. So we are going to be placing this pattern now on our fabric, and we are going to be cutting out the front. Same way we cut the back, it's the same way we are going to be cutting the front. Okay, so after you've done your adjustment on your pattern for the armhole and for the neckline, you're going to go ahead and cut out the pattern for the front. So guys, after cutting it out, this is what it should look like. You can see what mine looks like. Remember I said we are going to be adding 2 inches for the lower part to fold the lower part. Now, because we don't have a zipper at the back, we need to know how to wear this dress. So for you to be able to wear this dress, from your neckline, fold your front panel into 2, and then from the neck depth, come down by 4 or 3.5 inch. I came down by 3.5 inch, and I went in by 0.25, so that we can be able to put on this dress when we are done making it. So I went in by 0.25. So what I will do next is to use my scissors to cut from that top where I have my 0.25. I'm going to use my scissors to cut out a triangular shape. You can use your ruler to mark out the shape. Okay, if you can use your ruler to mark out the shape, that's okay. But I'm just going to go ahead and use my ruler to mark out the shape that I want. Then I'm going to now use the scissors to cut out a V shape at that point, so that when we wear it, it will be able to pass the head, right? So here it is after we have cut out that V shape on the neck panel of the front dress. I'm going to open it up to show you what it looks like. This is what it's going to look like. This way, when you stitch it down, you'll be able to wear it. You don't need a zipper or a button. So we are going to now cut out the sleeve. This is what I have left. You can see my sleeve is not that long because my fabric is not that much. That's why I advised from beginning, ensure to get 2 yards. So I'm just going to do a basic sleeve pattern. You've seen a basic sleeve now. I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the sleeve. So what I'm doing right now is to mark out the cap height for the sleeve, and then I'm going to impute my armhole measurement on the cap height line. Okay, and then I'm going to be adding half an inch to it for stitching allowance. So from the head of the sleeve, I'm just going to connect. Sorry, I'm sure you cannot see this. Even me, I can't see it while I was doing this voicing, but you understand what I'm trying to explain. So I went ahead to mark out the curve on the sleeve head, okay. And then for the sleeve opening, you can see on fold my fabric is quite big. So for the sleeve opening, I'm going to be using 10" plus half an inch for stitching. So for the sleeve opening, I'm going to be using 10 inches, and I'm going to be adding extra half an inch to it for stitching it up. So here I'm going to go ahead and mark that down. All right, so I'm going to mark out 10.5 on my sleeve opening. So what I will do now is to just use my pencil to connect these sides together from the sleeve head down to the opening. And then after connecting them, I'm going to now cut out. So just see, this is just, it's simple. This is your basic trumpet sleeve. Very simple and easy. If you want a detailed tutorial on how to draft a basic sleeve, it's on my channel. Just browse through and get all that you need. So here I'm cutting out my sleeve. I've cut out the side of the sleeve. Now I'm going to be cutting out the sleeve head, and here after cutting out the sleeve, okay, this is what your sleeve should look like. Your trumpet sleeve should look like. So now we're going to now join the facing to the main fabric. So you can see I've cut out facing for the back. I'm going to join it at the neckline for the back. I did the same thing for the front. I cut out a piece of fabric. I just used my pins to hold it down, and I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew exactly the same shape I have on my neckline on the facing. After sewing it, I'm going to cut it out. So here is the facing for the back. So I'm going to be using my hemming tape to secure it down so it doesn't move around. So this hemming tape is going to ensure that the facing stays inside the dress, and it also gives it a clean and neat finishing. So I'll do this for the back and I'll do this for the front. So after I've stitched up the facing for the front, this is what it looks like. This is what the facing looks like on the inside, okay. I'm also going to use my hemming tape, my hemming gum, to glue it, the facing down so it also doesn't move around, and it gives the dress a clean finish. So for the sleeve, I have my sleeve already cut out. I've showed you how to cut out the sleeve. So I'm going to fold it into two, and I'm going to be stitching by half of an inch by the side. And also at the lower part, I'm going to be hemming the lower part of the sleeve as well. So I'll just take this now to the machine, and I'm going to stitch by half of an inch by the side, and also close the lower part of the sleeve. This is what my sleeve looks like after stitching. Now you can see that the facing is sitting inside and it's not moving around for both the front and the back. So the next thing to do now is to join these two pieces together, the front and the back. So to join them together, we are going to be placing them right sides facing each other, and I'm going to be using pins to secure the shoulder. So we are going to be joining it at the shoulder line. So I'm going to just use my pins to secure them, so that when I take it to the sewing machine, I'm just going to go stitch down, not even going to think about it. I'm just going to go stitch down. And also for the sides of this dress, we are also going to be stitching by half of an inch as well. So we take it to the machine, stitch the shoulder by half of an inch. Also the sides, we are going to be stitching by half of an inch as well. All right, so that's what we are going to go do. So after we are done stitching, this is what our dress looks like. Beautiful, right? So the next thing to do is to attach the sleeve to it. So I'm going to take this now back to my sewing machine, and then I'm going to go attach the sleeve to my dress, right? And after you are done attaching the hem of the dress, you are going to go fold it in by 1 or 2 inches, depending on how much sewing allowance you left. I'm going to be folding in by 2 inches. That's the amount of allowance I left at the hem of this dress. Okay, so I'm going to now do this too. Take to the sewing machine. I'm going to fix the sleeve, and I'm going to be hemming the lower part by 2 inches. So after we are done, this is what our dress looks like. I love the outcome. I love the fit. You can see that it's looking beautiful. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Stay blessed. Bye.